Fuck you, Labrador. Fuck you, PWR. Fuck everybody.
Agreed.
Just kidding. This is a wonderful place. And Cody's a wonderful guy. Goodbye, Labrador. Well, that was an adventure. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Calgary, Alberta. For those of you who follow my channel, you'll know that I spent the last several months working in Labrador City in Newfoundland, and I am back in Calgary and happy to be. This means that I should be able to start making more regular videos and hopefully finish up some of my projects. That little clip at the first of the video, that was just a joke, and if you can't take a joke, well, go fuck yourself. Anyway, this video is basically going to be telling you guys about what I plan in the upcoming videos and kind of show you some of the stuff that I got. I ordered some stuff while I was away in Labrador, and so I'm going to show you a few of those things. But before I do that, I am going to talk a little bit about what the plans are moving forward. Some of you are going to be upset, some of you are going to be happy, and some of you just aren't going to care either way. So let's get into that. Everyone knows that I get a little bit obsessive with my projects, and that definitely happened with the X2 last year. I started doing carbon fiber stuff, and the next thing you know, I'm basically trying to start a business where I'm building and selling carbon fiber bits. It became a problem for a couple of reasons. One is that it took up a huge amount of my time, took up a huge amount of my resources, and I was basically unable to keep making videos and keep them interesting because, well, after you've shown the process of making 6 or 8 carbon fiber bed plates, it gets very repetitive. As of now, for now, I'm not going to focus on selling those. There's a couple other things that came into play. One thing was that I was planning on selling them directly, and then PayPal basically screwed me over. So I decided to sell things through eBay. And eBay seemed to be going really well. I sold a few of them, and then months later, I ended up looking at the billing that I got from eBay. And at first it seemed quite reasonable, and then I noticed that they were actually double billing me for shipping and charging me a bunch of like extra fees that hadn't shown up at first. So the reason why I was using eBay is because it was fairly simple. They provided all the shipping stuff. You go through, fill out basically a list, the person buys it, and then all I do is print out a tag, slap it on the box, and send it off. Well, it turned out that it got really complicated because I was spending a huge amount of time trying to figure out what eBay was billing me for and trying to contact anybody at eBay and actually talk to them about anything is a complete nightmare. So I've actually gone, yesterday I went and I pulled all of my remaining ads off of eBay, and at least for the time being, I'm not going to be using them. I'll either maybe sell some stuff locally, I might do some giveaways on pieces just to, you know, get rid of the bits that I have, but I'm not going to be using eBay for a while. I was going to insert some footage at the end of this video that I got in Labrador City, but I think I'm going to make it its own video for 2 reasons. One being that it's probably going to be about 15 minutes worth of footage, and 2 is that I don't think most of you are going to be interested in it, so I'm going to make that an unlisted video, and you guys can go watch it if you want. It's mostly just phone clips that I took here and there, not necessarily in any kind of order, and I do very little talking in the video, so I'm going to make that. If you guys want to go watch it, feel free to do so. I currently have my iPhone sitting on the seat of my X2, which is sitting directly below the chain hoist, and that is because I'm getting ready to pull the engine out. I'm going to do some fiberglass work inside of the hull and clean it up from the mess that I made back in January when I was running the engine. I'm going to do some of the reinforcement work so that I can take this thing out and test it. I've already said this once in this video, but I've been very obsessive with this project, and it's taken me a very long time to get to this point because I've been kind of meticulous with everything that I've done. I'm going to try to change that a little bit so that I can actually make some headway and keep my videos interesting. So what I'm actually going to do is try to get this thing so that I can get it on the water and get it tested. Okay, the engine is out of the X2, and as you guys can see, we got a little bit of a mess here. A little bit there and some back here as well. I'm going to try to make things look kind of fancy along here. I want the ribs to look fairly nice, but I'm not going to be too fussy with it. I spent a couple hours working on the bracing on this and got it mostly done. I'm just waiting for it to set up a little bit so that I can push some of it into place. As you can see along the front there, it got a little bit messy. That's because I couldn't use solid pieces to hold that together because of the curve. So what I ended up doing was using a piece kind of on the front side over here and a piece on the back side here. I do have some smaller pieces under that in layers going front to back. Ended up peeling off this piece, and these two pieces that go across the front. I separated these pieces here into two by peeling them apart, and then I cut relief cuts in them offset so they wouldn't overlap and put them back on, both this one and this one, and you can see they're sitting down quite nice. Not perfect, but pretty good. This one across the front, I cut some relief cuts in it and put it on a little bit different. It is going to have some kind of air pockets in it. It's kind of inevitable because of the material that I'm using and because of the shape, the contours that are in here. I'm not terribly worried about it. I don't like how it looks cosmetically, but it will be plenty strong. It is the following day and the epoxy still hasn't fully set up. This polypoxy stuff takes quite a while. It is hardened, but it's still a little bit tacky, so I'm just going to leave that. I've been playing around a little bit and sanding the outside of the hull. I'm not going to be finishing the outside of the hull before I do my test ride, but there was some little bits of carbon fiber hanging off the back that I didn't want to tear my wetsuit on. And yeah, just kind of doing some stuff that I can do while I'm waiting for that to set up. Progress update. I got the coupler installed on the shaft and the bearing carrier installed into the hull. I also got the pump installed on the back here and the ride plate in. I got the cooling lines hooked up. Not sure what I'm going to do about the trim. I might just lock the trim in place for the first tests before I redesign or figure out what I'm going to do for a trim system. I could put the lever back on it, but I don't think it's going to suit the use of this machine now that it has the 1100 in it. As you guys can see, I've got a battery sitting here. The next thing I'm going to do is see if I can make this battery fit into this hole. This turned out better than I thought it was going to. I'm not going to pull these pieces out right now and show you guys what I did, but basically I cut away at the foam a little bit. I sanded away at the foam. So I have these pieces sitting in here pretty much flush. That side and the same thing over here. And I'm also going to put one across the bottom with a little cutaway in it so that the water can still drain out this hole. This hole actually goes through to right here and the water comes out into the footwell. So now that I have those pieces in there, the battery fits in very snug. I can force it down so that I have clearance. But it's not going to go anywhere. So what the plan is to take these pieces of foam out, to sand a little bit more away at the foam behind them, so the flotation foam stuff. And then what I'm going to do is mix up a batch of really thickened epoxy. I'm going to smear it in there, and I'm also going to smear it on the back of these. And then I'm going to set them in there how they're supposed to go. And then what I'm going to do is wrap some saran wrap around the battery and put the battery in so that it holds these pieces into place. Right after I shut the camera off, I put the epoxy on these pieces of foam and set them in place, and the epoxy started to cure and started to get really hot, and the piece of foam on this side, because it was getting so hot, started to bubble out, and I had to hold it in place. And then I tried wrapping the battery in plastic and putting it in there, but of course enough epoxy had oozed out that when I tried to slide the battery in, it jammed up and it just folded the foam over. So I had to pull everything out and kind of put it back in place. The foam didn't come completely out, but I had to reset it in place and then kind of try to fix up the epoxy around the outside. I think it's going to be okay. It looks like it's going to be fine. The temperature's starting to come down now. It was about 135 Fahrenheit and now it's 97 Fahrenheit. I just shot a thumbnail holding this battery and the battery that I was using in the X2 before, and I thought I would weigh each of these to see how much they weigh. I'll have to use this thing to weigh the big battery because, all right, it is 2 pounds, 1.7 ounces, which is 957 grams. All right, let's see how heavy this battery is. If it'll balance, is that 9.3 kilos, which is unit pounds. That's crazy. That's a lot of, that is a lot of weight savings. I don't know that that will make up the difference between having the 650 or an 1100, but every little bit helps. This is fairly cured now, but I'm not going to be able to fit the battery until I do a little bit of sanding. And I'm not going to do that sanding until this stuff is fully cured because it's still a little bit gummy and it just, it won't work very well. It won't sand very well. It sands a whole lot better once it's cured. So the battery is going to sit in there something like that, except of course all the way down flush with the top of this. And I've been debating on what to do with the wires, and I've come up with basically two solutions. I'm leaning towards one, and I thought I would run this by you guys and see what you thought. So the obvious thing might be to just run them through here into the inside of the hull. The problem with that is, and I don't think you can actually tell by looking at it here, but there's one layer of fiberglass here, but if I go through that low, there's actually another layer on the inside and there's foam in between them. So if I put a hole through here and put the wires through, what I'm going to have to do is make sure that it's sealed off perfectly on both sides. So that means 4 places where it needs to be perfectly sealed. And then it also means that I need to be able to run a wire through and seal around the wire. So I actually have 8 places, wait, not 8, 6 places where I need to perfectly seal. I don't want water coming in through the holes into the hull and filling the hull. And I also don't want it going into the foam and filling inside of the foamed area. I could run the wires through there, like I just said, or what I could do, and this is what I'm leaning towards, is actually run the wires up a little bit along here, and then actually drill a couple of holes and come out just above this seam here. So this seam here is where it goes to single layer. And if I go through there, what I can actually do is just run a short wire from the battery up along here. And then what I'll do is I'll use a stainless steel bolt with a rubber washer on it and have it so that basically I bolt the wire down to here. So I'll have a nut on the other side. Let me grab a bolt and show you. I found a wire and a bolt. rightfully I should have a shorter wire, and I should also have a couple of washers and a nut to properly explain this, but hopefully you guys can understand. You'll just have to use your imagination a little bit. What I'm thinking about doing is running a wire from the terminal up along here to where it's a single layer of fiberglass and drilling a hole through. Do the same thing for the positive and for the negative, and then simply taking the bolt and putting it through that layer of fiberglass, which would come through here. So I would have a bolt here for the positive and negative. I put a washer and a nut on there, tighten that up, and that would give me positive and negative terminals inside of the hull. I could then run those wires to the starter relay and to the ground of the engine, and yeah, I'd be done with it. It would be way easier to seal this way, and I think it would be actually tidier, and the location of the wires is probably going to make more sense. The only downside to doing it this way is that there might be a little bit of a clearance issue with the seat. The seat does come fairly close to this. It goes right up against here, and there's very little room underneath there. If I absolutely needed to, I could cut out a little bit in the bottom of the seat pan itself. I'll show you guys that right now. Megan came home and I had to move my jet ski in a hurry to try to show you guys this, but yeah, there's a little channel along here that I could just remove these two ribs here, and the wires could run up along there. But there might actually be enough room for the wires to run in behind there without interfering. But what I'll do is I'll figure out the distance between these and try to get it so that the holes are exactly in line with these. So if I do need to cut these out, the wires can run along these grooves. So you guys let me know your thoughts on that. Well, that's all the time that I have for this video. I was hoping to get a little bit more done, but honestly, I'm pretty happy with the progress that I made. We got home on Tuesday evening, and so I only had a few days to kind of figure out what I was going to do on this project and get a little bit of footage out for you guys. I haven't made a video in about 2 months because I was away in Labrador, and so I figured a lot of you were probably wondering if the channel was completely shut down or what was going on, so I figured I would get this video out for you guys. I got a few things that are kind of exciting to show you guys before I go, but I wanted to say a couple of things before I show you that stuff. I had made a lot of plans and kind of promises to people before I went away, and I will admit that I bit off more than I can chew. I have a habit of getting really excited about things and making big plans and then realizing that I can't handle it as far as time goes or just mental capacity. I get stressed out about things, and that starts affecting how I make videos or that I don't make videos. And so before I go over that edge and completely crash and burn, I decided that I'm just going to kind of draw the line, do what I can on my project here, and try not to get into anything overwhelming, and that way I can keep the content coming. So the exciting things that I have to show you guys, some of them not terribly exciting, and some of them I can't actually show you because they're behind the camera and I'll knock it over if I try to get them. I got some Pro Set INF 114 epoxy. That's not terribly exciting, I know, but it's infusion, very low viscosity infusion epoxy. I also got some carbon fiber and some other stuff for building bits. Yeah, anyway. I also got a compression tester and a leak down tester, which are still in BJ's vehicle because I accidentally had them shipped to Labrador and we haven't fully unpacked his truck yet. I've also got this, which is related to the exciting thing that I got. It is a timing gun or a timing light, and it's a little fancier than your average one. It shows you the RPM, and also you can set timing, advance, or delay with it. And I'm not going to get into that, but the reason why I need this, or the reason why that will come in handy, is because of something exciting that I got. This is also related to that. It is a pair of crimping pliers, a good set. I have some junky ones, and I decided to get myself a good set because I'm going to be doing some crimping. And this one last thing is kind of a teaser. It might give you guys a clue as to what the exciting thing is. This is a USB cable, and on one end we just have a normal USB. On the other end we have this plug. And the exciting thing itself is this. This is a Zealtronics PDCIS-32T. This is a programmable CDI, which I'm going to be using for my 1100 triple. I got this from Mark at Ericsson Machine and Performance. And yeah, it took a while, but I finally got this. I believe he set it up with 2 tunes on it, which can be switched between with a switch that you can put on the handlebars or the dash or whatever, so that you can set it up with 2 different tunes. I'm not going to get into that in detail, but it's kind of exciting. You can set it up so that you could run it on race fuel and then normal pump gas and just switch between on the fly. Anyway, I'm not going to be installing that right away on the 1100 because there's a lot of unknowns already as far as the exhaust and tuning on that particular engine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it ready for testing and actually do the testing with the OEM CDI. And then once we get the bugs kind of sorted out of it and make sure that it's actually working half normal, then we can put that on and see what kind of gains we can get from it. That's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I promise that I will not make you wait another 2 months before releasing a video. I will get back into releasing fairly regular videos now. I also hope that the Jet Ski Brothers are able to get their video schedules sorted out and show us what they're up to, because I am very curious and excited to see what they're doing this season. That is going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.